Okay, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the review on the Vortex Gen II PST 5 to 25 MOA rifle scope. Go over the things that I do like about it, things that I don't like about it, and I'll show you the results from a box test, and then I'll show you the optics chart that I used for comparing the Gen II PST to the Citron. Things that I did like, in my opinion, the Reticle is better than the Citron. I chose the first focal plane. I like having the MOA. You don't have to worry about what power you're on. It's always going to be MOA. Some people don't like the first focal plane. They do make a second focal plane option if first focal plane's not your thing. So I did like the Reticle. I do think it's better than the one in the Citron. In my opinion, it really doesn't get a whole lot better than what they've done. If I were to choose maybe another option, I would just have the windage MOA. I don't use the elevation MOA. I almost always dial. So that would be one thing I would consider different, but it doesn't really bother me. The Reticle, being first focal plane, is a little bit large for shooting small groups at 100 yards, but doesn't seem to be an issue for me at longer ranges, which is what the scope is intended for. And I'll make a habit of shooting 100-yard groups just to make myself feel better. The turrets, they're not as tactile feeling as the Citron, but in my opinion they are overall better. I like the fact that there's 25 minutes per rev and the zero stop is awesome. So I would have to give the overall function of the turrets to the Vortex, and in my opinion they're on par with the Night Force. The windage is done just like it should be. It goes from 0 to 12.5 one way to the right, and then 0 to 12.5 the other way to the left. I don't really see the reason for an exposed turret not to be like that. Going from 0 to whatever that turret is just doesn't make sense. In the case of the Citron, it goes from 0 to 15, and I know it doesn't seem like it's that big a deal. It's real simple math, but in the heat of the moment it makes it a little bit more difficult to figure it out, whereas on the turret such as the Vortex, you can dial right to it. The weight, I wish it would be a little bit lighter, but I really think with rifle scopes, especially long-range hunting models such as the Vortex PST, the Citron S3s, Night Force NXS, you're giving up something whenever you're giving up weight. Build quality is just comes with extra weight. I really think that's all there is to it. There's a reason why the NXS is as heavy as it is. So I would be willing to overlook the weight to have the additional durability and the features of the scope. The illuminated reticle, I don't really care about it. I could take it, I could leave it. I don't see myself using it very often. Having just spent the amount of time I've spent with it and not hunting with it yet, maybe since it's there I would find myself actually using it, but I really don't think at this point I would consider that something I would pay extra for. So again, I can take it or leave it. So we're going to talk about looking at the optics chart with the Gen II PST versus the Citron 6 to 24x50 S3. I know some of these things are subjective, and one guy may look at it and have a different opinion, but I looked at them for probably a couple hours. My neck was starting to get sore. I really couldn't tell any discernible difference between the two. They're both very crisp, clear to the edge of the scope. I couldn't see any chromatic aberration. The contrast seemed to be near identical. There really wasn't a lot of difference in the glass, in my opinion, and if you did see it, it was going to take a lot of side-by-side comparison to notice it, and in my opinion I wouldn't let that deter me from buying one scope over the other. One thing I did notice is the Citron had a little less glare when the sun was in your face, which definitely could affect you in a hunting situation. That seemed to be pretty repeatable. I will go ahead and say that, like, I would like to give the Gen II PST another chance. With hunting season coming up, I'm going to stick with the Citron for this hunting season. I actually had to send the scope back, so the model I last tested, I finished the review with, was scope number 4. Like we talked about in the first video, the first one had a 0-stop issue right out of the box. They took care of that. They sent me another one. The second one, I fired 3 shots with 28 Nosler, and the parallax broke to the point where you couldn't tell that the reticle was moving or not. So it was pretty much worthless. The third scope, the function as far as dialing up and down on the reticle or on the turret seemed to be fine, but it would not focus parallax past around 200 yards. Scope number 4, everything seems to be fine. I did some long range shooting, dialing up, dialing down, zeroing it. The reticle moved exactly where I wanted it to. The windage moved exactly like I wanted it to. I ended up sticking that scope on Cooper Model 21 204 that I've got for testing purposes to finish out this review. So I did a box test, and we'll take a look at those groups. I did, has been a little while since I've shot that rifle, or since load development was initially done. I'm way down in different lots of powder, bullets, and I've not redeveloped a load. So the gun wasn't as accurate as it can be with the proper load. I'll need to tweak that load in the future to get it shooting back out like it usually does. It's typically a 1/4 minute rifle, and I think most of the groups this time were in the 5 to 6 tenths of an MOA range. I did go ahead and shoot a group without moving the reticle, just to make sure that it was the rifle and not the scope that was causing the groups to open up. So we'll take a look at that, and then we'll take a look at the optics chart that I used for the test, and we'll go from there. Alright, so here we're going to take a look at the results of the box test from the Gen II PST from Vortex. Again, I put these, mounted the scope on my Cooper 204 varmint rifle. So we got it zeroed, and we started down here on the bottom left, and I shot one. I dialed it up 20 minutes and shot another, then dialed it to the right 20 minutes, shot another, down 20 minutes, shot another, back to the left 20 minutes and shot another. And I did that until I had 4 separate 3-shot groups. So when I was shooting, I did go ahead and measure. They were right at 20 minutes on the reticle, and the groups are just shy from center to center of 21 inches, which is right at 20 minutes. So we'll take a look here for you. This one is just over 20 inches. This one is up and down is, you know, just at 20 and a half or so. I would say, like I said, the groups were centered on the reticle at 20 minutes. So I would say tracking was pretty good. I don't know if you can see this, if there's glare there, if this is a group I shot, the rifle is typically better, more capable than this, but the load was developed with different lot of powder, different lot of bullets, so it probably needs some tuning. There's 8 shots. It was a little bit windy that day shooting the 204. Who knows what I mean, some of these could have been caused by that, but there's 3 right there in a little group. There's 3 in a little group, and then you got these 2 outliers. But as far as I'm concerned, this thing box tested very well, and I wouldn't be afraid of it letting you down when you're dialing. I'll go ahead and take a look here. This is the optics chart that I used. I know it's really not for testing scopes, but it had some good black and white to check for chromatic aberration, the different colors, so you could check for contrast, and some color comparison, and then also the black and whites to check for the contrast there. I spent a couple hours looking through the scopes to the point where my eyes and neck were getting tired. I really couldn't see a difference between the two, the Gen II PST and the Citron S3s. I wouldn't choose one over the other strictly because of the glass. So there those are. Now that we've looked at the box test and we've taken a look at the optics chart that I used, let's go ahead and wrap this up for now. Like I said, I really like this scope. Matter of fact, I think I like it better than the Citron S3s. I have a concern at this point with the durability, since I had to get 4 different scopes to finish just this review. I can't trust it for this hunting season. I would like to revisit it again next spring when I've got time, but for now I'm going to use my Citron S3s for this hunting season. I've had one of them for, well, since the Citron S3 came out with the exposed turrets. I want to say 6 years ago, and I've not had any problems whatsoever with it. But overall, I do like the scope better. The optics quality seems to be on par with the Citron S3. I like the turrets better overall, mainly the 0 stops and the fact that it's got 25 minutes per rev. I like the windage turret, how it goes left and right instead of just one way. So there you have it. If you have any questions about the scope, whether it be how it compares to the Citron or just some of the functions of the scope itself, if you want to know any more about the concerns that I had with the scope, let me know in the comments section. Please like the video, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.